The thing about Ocala, Florida that's different from all the other places I wanted to road trip to, Ocala, Florida is actually where I really want to live at. I want to live in Ocala, Florida because I've never been there before, but I've heard that Ocala, Florida is not too crowded at all. It's away from the water, so you wouldn't have to worry about storm surge if a Category 5 hurricane rolled in. And also, there's not too many crazy drivers, and they don't even have any tourists that go there very often. It's like a small town in Florida, and I like small towns, and I think it would be a cool place to live at.
What's up, people? Joe Winko here, your favorite Hawaiian guy. Right now, I'm back in my most favorite city in Florida, Ocala, Florida, and I'm really hyped to be back here. I actually was already here a few months ago in September, also in June. I'll have the links to those videos in the pinned comments. My adoptive parents came down to Florida to visit, so they decided to bring me back to Ocala just to look around. And also so I could do another YouTube video here as well. And I'm really excited for it. The reason why Ocala is my favorite city is because it's far away from the water and further inland. And I read online that it's safer from hurricanes because you don't get the storm surge at all. The town in Florida that I live in is right next to the water, and it's really crowded. And if a Category 5 hurricane made a direct hit, the whole entire place would be underwater. That's why I've been wanting to move to Ocala instead. And it's also not too crowded either. I read online that the population estimate for the city of Ocala is roughly 60,000, I believe, which isn't too much. And it doesn't seem too busy either. There are a couple roads that we actually did drive along that did have quite a bit of traffic, a lot more than I expected, but it wasn't too bad though. Let's get a closer look at the sign. Okay, so here it is. Welcome to Ocala in Marion County. Yeah, you guys will have to excuse me. I'm not sure if it's pronounced Marion or Marion. Horse capital of the world. I actually always thought that Kentucky was actually the horse capital of the world, but I guess Florida decided to use that instead. But overall, I absolutely love Ocala, and it's an amazing place to live, and it's an amazing town too. So in this video, I'm gonna be showing you guys some more of Ocala. Not quite the same places I did last time, but just some more places in Ocala. So let's get this party started. Okay, so I know that earlier I told all of you guys that I wasn't going to show you places in Ocala that I have already been to in my last video I did here a long time ago. But I didn't show you guys enough of this place the last time, and I really wanted to show it to you again. So this is the main park in Ocala. I believe they call it the downtown square. Let me show you guys around. It's really cool. I think this is like where they host all of their events and everything. and it's actually not really crowded at this park, really. Last time I was here in September, there were like a lot of people here, but there's hardly anyone here right now. There is some traffic, but not too much. And this right here is a gazebo. It's a really cool looking one too. One with a foundation. Those are my favorites. I have a ton of those in the United States of Joe Winko, my gaming series in SimCity 4. There's actually another thing I forgot to mention about Ocala. So everyone always thinks that the state of Florida is a tropical climate, but the truth is it really isn't a tropical climate. It's a subtropical climate. I believe the difference between tropical and subtropical climate is in subtropical climates, the temperature can drop down below freezing, which is 32 degrees Fahrenheit or 0 degrees Celsius. In the town I live in Florida, which is further south than Ocala, it dropped down to 20 degrees, and that is below freezing. But it was only for like 2 nights, and that very rarely happens. That doesn't happen very often, and it wasn't good either. But I believe stuff like that also can happen in Ocala since it's further north. So therefore, that's the reason why Ocala and almost all of the state of Florida aren't considered tropical climates, but it's a subtropical climate though. Another thing about Ocala that I forgot to mention earlier, I always thought that the population for Ocala, Florida was like 50,000, but as we were driving through, we saw like a ton of cars around everywhere, and my adoptive parents kept telling me that this town has more than 50,000 people. So when I looked it up on Wikipedia, the 2016 estimate for Ocala, Florida was roughly 60,000 people living here. And we all think that the city's population has grown over the years. They even told me that at the real estate office back when I was there in September. However, that's still not nearly as many as the people who live in my city in Florida, the one I'm desperately trying to get out of. I'd much rather live here instead. Seriously. Well, in all honesty, I'm not exactly desperately trying to get out of it. I mean, it's better than being in Wisconsin. But I would still much rather live in Ocala, Florida, honestly. Another thing I read online was Ocala, Florida actually has 2 distinct seasons, according to Wikipedia.com. There's the dry season, which is October through May, and the wet season, which is June through September. Here in Florida, the rain really comes during the summer. You can get rain like year-round, but most of the time it comes during the summer. Unlike California, the rain in California comes during the winter. I just thought that was interesting for some reason, that how they were the polar opposite with each other, as in when the times their rain came. But I guess that has something to do with the water currents off the coast and everything. The east coast of the USA has a warm current that runs up it, and the west coast of the USA has a cold current that runs down it. Which is another reason why hurricanes cannot hit California at all. More information than you guys needed to know, but it's interesting. And there's another cool thing here that I really wanted to show you guys. Okay, so right here behind me is a statue of a horse. As I said earlier, that Welcome to Ocala sign that I was standing in front of earlier, they said that Ocala was the horse capital of the world. And again, I still think that's Kentucky, but if Ocala wants to say that, they can. They have these horse statues literally all over the city. As we were driving through, we kept seeing a ton of them everywhere, and I think they're really cool. The strange thing is, I've seen more statues of horses here than actual real ones. I haven't seen any horses anywhere within Ocala's city limits. I did see like some horse ranches on the way up to Ocala on Interstate 75, but I'm not sure if those horse ranches are considered part of Ocala, but they might be. Your guess is as good as mine. However, I do remember looking for lots for sale online, and there were a lot of really massive lots for sale, like 5 or 6 acres, or I'm not sure on the exact size, but they were really big. And they seem to be out in the rural areas. So I'm not 100% sure how far the city limits for Ocala, Florida actually go, but apparently the rural areas outside of what appears on Google Maps to be within Ocala's city limits are also considered parts of Ocala too. My adoptive dad was actually the one who recommended this place, and I think it's really beautiful, and I thought I should show it to you guys on video. It's this Catholic church in Ocala, Florida, and it's massive too. Like, I remember the Catholic church that was in my neighborhood in Wisconsin, and I thought it was really big, but this one's gigantic, and it's gorgeous also. Believe it or not, I actually am religious, and I actually was raised Catholic. I memorized the Our Father prayer and the Hail Mary prayer. I memorized both of those because they taught it to us in school. I also went to a Catholic school for 7 years, from 2000 to 2007. But the Catholic school I went to actually was demolished way back in 2012. But that's a whole different story. To be completely honest with everyone, I actually haven't been to church in a really long time. But the reason why I don't go to church is because I just don't like being around a whole bunch of people, because it makes me feel really uncomfortable because of my autism, if I didn't mention that earlier. So that's the reason why I haven't been to church in a really long time, because there's way too many people. My adoptive parents actually been telling me that I should go to church because I might be able to make friends there since I am Catholic. So that's one thing we would have in common. I mean, religion does bring people together a lot. And I absolutely do believe in God as well. But in all honesty, nowadays I believe God is more lenient than people say. I always put myself in God's position, like whenever I'm playing The Sims, and I imagine something that I do in real life that my Sims might do, and I think to myself, if my Sims were doing what I did in the game, would I be angry? And yeah, that's kind of how I think of stuff. Yeah. That's autism for you. But God was the one who wanted me to have autism. He wanted me to have this creative mind, and he wanted me to come here, and he wanted me to film a video of me exploring Ocala, Florida. There was actually another place that I actually did want to show you guys, but I couldn't find it anywhere. My adoptive parents were talking about it earlier. There's this factory in Ocala that builds manufactured homes, which are able to withstand Category 4 hurricanes. I tried looking it up, but I couldn't find anything. I did find a couple places that are dealers for manufactured homes, but when we asked them what wind speed can they withstand, they said only 110 mile per hour winds, and 110 mile per hour winds is more like a low-end Category 3 hurricane. I plan on doing a whole episode of Joe Winko Talk explaining hurricanes and their strengths and everything. And when I have that done, I'll have the link to it in the pinned comments or the cards. And another thing, ironically, a lot of churches are actually built to withstand hurricanes, and that's actually where a lot of hurricane evacuees go to ride out the storm. I remember reading about that a lot of people who evacuated for Hurricane Harvey rode out the storm in churches built in Houston, Texas. But I'm not sure if this church is used for that, because this is Ocala, Florida. People don't evacuate for hurricanes in Ocala, Florida. Ocala, Florida is actually the place where people go when there is a hurricane, because it's so far inland and away from the water, and this is where they'd all actually be safe at too. That's why so many people are moving here.
Ocala, Florida. All of my heart is in Ocala, Florida. They couldn't keep me in Waukesha, na. All of my heart is in Ocala. My heart is in Ocala, Ocala, Florida.
Ocala, Florida. All of my heart is in Ocala, Florida. They tried to send me to Waukesha, na. All of my heart is in Ocala. My heart is in Ocala, Ocala, Florida. You guys will not believe what I ended up finding here. Let me show it to you guys right now. This. Now, if you guys seen my Pasco County video, you would know what I thought of these signs. Now, they have them all over the town that I live in Florida, but it just baffled me to actually see one here in Ocala. Why do they have evacuation route signs in Ocala, Florida? No one evacuates Ocala for hurricanes. They're so far inland, they're out of a storm surge zone, so I'm not sure what they need to worry about. However, I remember when I was talking to one of my friends about the evacuation route signs and why I was wondering why they have them. He told me that the reason why Florida has the evacuation route signs everywhere is because most of the time, a lot of people who evacuate for the hurricanes in Florida, he told me the reason why Florida has the evacuation route signs everywhere is because most of the time when there's a hurricane coming, most of the people who do end up evacuating Florida evacuate it at the last minute, like right before the hurricane's about to make landfall. And the reason why they have the evacuation route signs set up all over the roads everywhere is because just in case a person's car breaks down and they end up stranded, like whoever is responsible for rescuing them can come in and help them get out in time. However, most of the time the evacuation routes themselves end up becoming really congested when someone breaks down, and then there's a whole traffic line along the evacuation routes. Either way, in my honest opinion, I kind of thought it was a stupid idea in general. Still don't understand exactly what's the logic behind those, but it's Florida, and it is what it is. That's why I fit in so well. Also, another really awesome thing I wanted to show you guys. Look right behind me, Interstate 75. If you kept following Interstate 75 south, you would eventually end up in Miami, Florida, because Interstate 75, it just goes south down the Floridian Peninsula, but eventually what happens is it turns east and then it ends up going through Alligator Alley, and then it ends in Miami. And if you kept following Interstate 75 north that way, you would eventually end up in Mackinac City, Michigan. I actually built that city in the United States of Joe Winko in Sin City 4, including the Mackinac Bridge. I actually have been thinking about that bridge a lot. I've been wanting to visit there, really. Unlike Claremont, Florida, Ocala, Florida is actually located along an interstate. Interstate 75, right behind me, goes through Ocala. And Interstate 75 is actually the same interstate that me and the stranger took to Ohio last October. I loved Ohio. It was beautiful there. However, today I didn't really see any Ohio license plates at all. But I bet you if I would have looked harder, I would have eventually have found one. People from Ohio always come to Florida. It's a given, really. So that's basically it for my video of me exploring Ocala, Florida, my favorite town in Florida that I've always wanted to live in because it's not so crowded and it's safe from hurricanes. However, today it kind of did seem a bit crowded, but I don't know. What did you all think of this video? Please let me know in the comments. I hope you all liked my video of me exploring Ocala, Florida again. It was a really awesome adventure, and it's a really cool town to visit, and it's a really awesome town to live in as well. What is your favorite place in Ocala, Florida? What did you think of the places I showed you of Ocala, Florida in this video? Please let me know in the comments, and let's get a conversation started. And don't forget to like, don't forget to comment, don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget to like me on Facebook and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Tumblr. So that's it. Peace out, people.